It's time for Sundays on Mondays, a weekly show featuring pastors and church leaders from Alliance and surrounding areas. If you'd like to get to know more about our local religious community, stay tuned for Sundays on Mondays. And now here's your host, Geno Myers.
Hello and welcome to Sundays on Mondays. I'm your host, Geno Myers. And today we have a very, very special guest today. And it is my own brother, and he is now a minister, so I can't call him by his first name. It is the minister Nicholas H. Myers III, all the way from Fort Hood, Texas, which he is in the Army, so yes. He has to get back today to get back to work. So it's definitely a pleasure to have you as my brother to be on the show today. You know, I had my dad on before, so now it's good to have you on, the next one down. Yeah. So let's start it off. You're in the military. Tell us a little bit about that.
Been in the military 14 years. That's all I can tell you. Been in the military 14 years, stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. Going strong, gearing up for retirement next couple years.
Yeah, you used to box.
Yes.
You boxed in the military too?
Yeah, I boxed for the Army for 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever box in an Olympic type situation?
No, I boxed in the Olympic trials in 2000. Okay. Lost in the trials in 2000.
Okay. So, as a kid, I remember you going off to the Army. It seemed like it was forever. Yeah. Like, I never seen you for like the next few years until you start coming home from holidays to holiday. Yeah. But now you get to come home a little more than what you do because you're a little higher up in the staff. Tell us a little bit about your position.
I'm a staff sergeant. Right now, I'm the Rear Detachment 13th Expeditionary Support Command Chaplain Assistant. Mm-hmm. So I'm over a division, so to speak. And you get a little more freedom when you're in charge, just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about this Fort Hood shooting that happened a little while back. You were there at the time of the Fort Hood shooting.
Yes. Actually, I was right down the road, a little bit over a mile and a half. I was at the garrison chaplain's office and came out and heard the sirens and cars speeding by, and I went back to my chapel. They locked us down, and my chaplain was at the hospital, and so I immediately proceeded to go to the hospital, and I was there with the patients that were injured and wounded, praying for them and giving them spiritual support.
What was even great was they had an article here in Alliance, Ohio, where they had all the soldiers praying, but for some reason they found you.
Well, the Dallas newspaper, Dallas Morning News, they snapped a picture of me, and I called and let Alliance know, let the Alliance Review know, and they called down to Dallas, got the picture, got the rights to the picture, and they called me and did an article.
So now comes from being a regular child, growing up to being a man. Now you had to take that transition and move it over to being one of God's men.
Yeah, it was long transition. 32. I've been on this earth 32 years, and I received my calling at the age of 11, and I never wanted it. Never wanted to do it because of what I seen our father go through, and I promised God that when I got married, I would surrender all to Him and do His bidding. So in October, I got married in September, and so in October, I was in church. Just came off from a long night of clubbing, and God spoke to me like, it's time to give it up, and it's time to do what you promised me you would do. And I gave my life to God, and since then I've been preaching and teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Now, I didn't get to make it down to the trial sermon that you had down. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what church did you come from down there?
First Church of God in Christ in Killeen, Texas, where Superintendent John C. Robinson is my pastor. Okay. Great man of God.
Big church.
Big church, huge.
Okay.
So it's about 1,200.
I didn't get to come down for the trial sermon, so I never got to hear you speak until Sunday. Yes. This past Sunday, he spoke a word at our church, and it was inspiring. You know, this man right here, I'm telling you, throughout the years, I could never have seen him preaching, but he got it. Yeah. Now, how did it feel to fly your dad down there, to preach in front of him, your first time preaching ever?
It was a bit scary. You know, anytime somebody is your role model, your hero, person you look up to, and you have them in the crowd for your first sermon, the first time you're doing it, it was a little nervous. I was nervous. I was very nervous, but I pulled it together, and we made it through.
I know you was there. He wasn't in the crowd. He was sitting right behind
Yeah, he
you.
sat right behind me, yeah.
Pulling his coattail.
But what was so great about that moment is that my colonel, my chaplain colonel, he came and supported me. And that showed me that not only do I have favor with God, but I have favor with man. And so that was pretty good.
Okay. Now, do you have any plans to go out through the ministry?
Well, my plan is, after I retire from the Army, I'm going to go to college, finish up my bachelor's degree, and then I'm going to seminary. And after that, I'm going to work on my PhD because I feel it speaks volumes when you have a degree or that doctorate about your ministry, and you can take your ministry to higher heights and deeper depths.
Now, is there any preachers in Alliance that have inspired you besides your dad?
Yeah. He just passed. Pastor Reverend Cato Waiters, he was definitely an inspiration. I talked to him before he passed, and he gave me inspirational words. He said, "Stay with your father, because your father's not going to let go of God. So stay with your father." And Pastor Billy Bell, great man of God, love him to death, known him ever since I was a child, and he's definitely inspired me. And my former pastor, Elder Avery, down at Holy
Temple of Faith.
Holy Temple of Faith. Yeah, they changed the name. It was
Noble Street.
Noble Street. So like those few individuals really inspire me, and they motivate me to excel and do better in the ministry.
So now we have one more person to try to get on God's side, and it is your brother,
Ace.
Ace Akarius
Well,
Myers. You got to
you
get it.
can't rush it. You can't rush it, and I'm living proof of that because it's not in your time, it's in God's time. And if you wait on God, you'll mount up like wings of angel and fly away. So Ace will be okay. We just got to keep putting him under prayer and supplication, and everything will be okay.
Do you have anything planned down there at Fort Hood at the First Church of God in Christ coming up soon?
Right now, I got something in the mix that I'm working out. I was just at a conference, and I talked to a young minister. I want to put on a step show / praise dance competition where we're going to bring in all the churches from the Church of God in Christ in the state, and we're going to have other churches come in that want to come in, and we're just going to go forth in the Lord, have a competition. The winner gets so much money, and first, second, and third place gets individual prizes, and we'll take it from there. It's going to be magnificent once it comes together.
Now, here's a question. I want you to really think about this. I ain't gonna say what year or what time. Do you see yourself at Anointed Fountain Church of God in Christ in the pulpit sitting right beside your dad?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
That's good.
When I retire, I'm going to come back, and I want to sit up under Daddy, Pastor Myers, and just get schooled on the daily operations of the church and how to handle business. By me being a chaplain assistant and being in charge of chapels, I know the administrative part, but I don't know the pastoral part. And so once I sit up under him and I learn the pastoral part, I think I'll be ready to go out and start my own flock.
Oh, so in other words, you want to start your own little ministry too?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, because a lot of preachers that just come out don't even think ahead that far.